Um, so, Stephen, I appreciate you joining us, and you're up in right now. You're up in the Chicago area. Tell us a little bit about progressive coating and all that you all do for the industry.
Sure. Well, we are a job shop committed to working in the functional side of things, I would say.
Hmm.
Fluidized bed application is our primary application method. We do electrostatic powder as well and some vinyl plastisol. We have, since I bought the company in 2006, we've grown tremendously, first starting with a lot of growth in the automotive for springs and wire forms
Hmm.
around nylon, PVC, vinyl plastisol applications. And then around 2008, 2009, we started dabbling in the electrical insulation side of things with bus bar, other types of needs where electrical isolation is necessary. And that kind of started growing with a couple local companies here. It ended up being about a third of our business up until maybe 2019. We started seeing with the electrification of everything a higher and higher demand for that type of product, and so we didn't pivot, but we definitely leaned into that. In 2021, we were approached by a tier one to GM on the electric
Hmm.
vehicle market, and what started off as doing some preliminary work for them to set up in Mexico, and they thought they were going to find their own vendors down there to do what we do, and they struggled to locate a source down there to
Right.
provide the quality that we were able to provide. We ended up making the decision to build down there and set up a shop to support that effort.
Gotcha.
Um, since then, we've grown tremendously with that customer, with a couple other customers, both down in the Mexico Juarez area, but also in the Chicago area. Like I said, with the continued electrification of things. As you mentioned, electroplating is something that we're new to.
Hmm.
On that side of the business, almost everything we do gets either plated before we get it or after we get it, and it's always been a natural thought in my mind, like at some point it'd be natural extension to be a more robust supplier, so we can have one stop and eliminate some transportation costs, eliminate having dual sourcing for these things. And so in the middle of last year, we made a decision to move forward with that in our Mexico facility. So we
Hmm.
added tin, nickel, and silver plating to support those projects we're working on down there right
Gotcha.
now.
Gotcha. Is that mostly? I was saying in Mexico. Is that mostly? Is it automotive still, or is it you doing some electrical work? How's
Most
that?
of what we're doing down there right now is automotive for electric vehicle work, our business industry.
Gotcha.
There's a few other things we've started quoting on, some switchgear, um, and a few other opportunities as we come across them. But so
Yeah.
far, most of what we're actively doing and have been quoting has been for the electric vehicle industry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say this has been kind of a whirlwind. I mean, yeah, it's almost like you started an entirely separate company. Well, with the electroplating, because that's a kind of a difficult beast and a different beast than what you've been doing for the last 20 some years. I'm assuming. Yeah.
Oh yes, I've been vigorously learning as much as I can, understanding that as the CEO and owner, I don't need to know every little aspect of it, but I kind of need to have a pretty good general sense of what's going on.
Right.
We have an engineer down in Mexico and another gentleman that's been in the plating industry for 30 years that has helped shape this for us and put it all together, and along with our suppliers, and it's come together in a really good fashion. When we looked at some of the other plating, well, never mind. I don't want to get too
Right.
negative on other.
Right.
we
Exactly.
felt that there was a need for a high quality shop in that area to service that industry, and so
Right.
we our intention is to be that company.
Right, right. I was going to say, I guess when you, like I said, you got approached with this, and I don't know if it was on your radar to do it or not, but I guess but first step would be where you're going to put this facility and how's it, right? I guess it's scoping out buildings and areas down there and getting them all. I guess I don't know how quick of a process that is to do. Uh,
It was remarkably fast
mm,
once we made the decision, and it was not simple. It was challenging. our immediate customer was in the Juarez area, and they sort of said, you don't need to come to Juarez, but we're not going to continue paying shipping to Chicago. And so,
Right.
as you can imagine, the cost of shipping that back and forth, especially some of
Mm-hmm.
these very large parts that were, a box of 80 pieces is the size of a pool table. So
Right.
the shipping cost was extraordinary on some of the parts. So we started looking at it earnestly, and we're not incorporated there. We work under a shelter operation with Maquiladora, and so our partner down there had some available space. They had a previous tenant that was moving out that allowed us to have some extra space in there. We started with 25,000 square feet and had planned on putting one line in.
Mm.
By the end of that year, we started production like the first week of January 24.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the year, we went from 5 people in one line to taking over the entire building, adding 2 more coating lines, and had about 100 people working two
Wow.
shifts. So some explosive growth. Um,
Right.
that was 2024, which was amazing. 2025 is a little more challenging.
Right.
we've
Right.
uh, we've seen a changing demand in the landscape for electric vehicles. I think with the administration's focus on tariffs and just uncertainty in the market has kind of rattled everything around a little bit. We're starting to see a little bit of stabilization right now, and optimistic for 26, but 25 was much more of a challenge.
Right. Right. Yeah. But what's the electrical bus bar market down in that area? Is it something that you could possibly pick up, or since you're experts at that, truly, I mean, doing that kind of work?
There's some big players down there on that side of things. The Schneiders of the world, the Eatons, they have some big facilities down there. We're trying to break into some of those opportunities for the traditional switchgear type of bus bar.
Mm-hmm.
The electric vehicle market, there's a few players in that area. There's definitely some more in the Monterey area and south into the Bajío. Um, but being that there's not a lot of people doing what we do, the distance is a little bit less of an issue. But you know, people always want things done as closely and as in
Right.
their backyard as possible. So
Right.
whether or not we look at other opportunities in those locations, that would depend on what kind of opportunities come up. But
Right.
right now, we're
Yeah.
focused on continuing to fill back up the production at the Juarez facility.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and the ability to have the electroplating and then also the other coatings has to be a big plus. I mean, that's kind of a rare presence to have those type of operations in one facility. That's got to be something that some OEMs may certainly want to take advantage of not, like you said, not having to ship parts around to everybody.
Yes, and we it's been very well received so far. We did our first trade show under progressive coating. Last time I did a trade show was when I worked at my father's company in the early 2000s, and we felt with the changing landscape at introducing a new operations and processes for us. We did the battery and electric vehicle show in Detroit this year, and not knowing what to expect, but we knew some of the players, some current customers, some hopeful prospects, and otherwise, and people we didn't even know. And we had a very good reception, lots of interest, and so we're working on capitalizing on some of those. As you know, automotive projects tend to be quoted 2, 3 years in advance, so it's
Right.
a little bit of quoting now for the future, and as we try
Mm-hmm.
to win back some of the business that we've got currently and the plating side of things to help support our investment right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Let's talk Chicago for a bit, because, like I said, you have a very large, very established fluidized bed operation up there. Tell us about that. I mean, that's been you all of it, because I know that you, like I said, you purchased the company, I think, in the mid early 2000s, but you've been around for the whole thing's been around for over 40 years. I'm assuming, right? Is that about
Yeah,
right?
the company was originally started around 1983. The second owner, I think, bought it fairly shortly after it was initiated. Joe Tampa, I bought it from him in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
He had moved here to this location in 1986, and I built a strong business, but I saw an opportunity to grow it into something a little bit bigger, a little bit more developed, servicing a little bit higher level of um, customer with getting into automotive that was going to require some further investment into quality systems and technology as well as
Right.
processes and equipment.
Right, right,
Um, so we've rebuilt pretty much everything here, or replaced everything here at least once since I took over. And like I said, here we still do some electrostatic spray of powder, but the rest of it is all fluidized bed. And within that, like that's still that traditional, or traditional for us, I'm sorry, legacy customer that services the nylon, the thermoplastic side of things, the nylons, PVCs, polyethylenes. With the, we got started here doing the electrical insulation, and that's remained robust and continues to grow here. So we're servicing stuff, customers from around the United States and up into Canada out of Chicago.
right, right. Yeah, definitely of that. And like I said, I guess that one of the good things is just letting OEMs know you're available. It looks like you've got some capacity, certainly in the Mexican operation, but also here again. That's something that you're spending a lot more time doing is kind of letting people know you're out there, you're available, and you've got this expertise now, which is pretty, like I said, pretty unique to have those all in one under one roof sometimes.
Yeah, it's the last 2 years have really been concentrated on establishing our presence with our existing customers, supporting those, making sure we were solid ground there. Now we're felt like it's probably a good idea to let people know that we're doing something down there in Mexico as well as here, and getting the word out and looking for that continued growth.
Right, right. Yeah. I was gonna say it had to be hard. You're only one CEO president. I mean, and it's you've got two operations, and I'm sure it was kind of during that whole period was kind of a little bit of a whirlwind of trying to keep tabs on what's going on in Chicago and then getting your new operation up. It had to be a little bit challenging, especially for you sometimes. I'm sure.
At times, yes. My Spanish isn't that great, so luckily I've got some good people around me. My operations manager or COO, Edgar Rosales, is native speaker and was stationed based out of Chicago. He travels down to Mexico probably once a month on average for a couple of days to a week, and he's been integral in making that a success down there. We also had some people that had previously worked for us here in Chicago that took the opportunity to help set us up down there and made a move to Juarez to support the operation. So they knew how we do things, what we do, and that was a huge factor in our success early on down there, and being able to take what we do, and how we do it, and the culture that we wanted to have, and bring that down there with a whole cast of new characters that we, just started hiring people, and you have a little churn in the beginning,
Right.
little ups and downs, but we've developed a good team down there now that is well supported um, from the floor on up.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so but yes, early on trying to keep track of what's going on and who's doing what and what's being built out, and how fast we're going to get there, and keeping track of all the customers in both places was a little bit of a challenge.
Right, right. I was going to say, and for your Chicago operation, how much is that automotive and also the other is electrical? I know that is it pretty much a good split of that, or
It's probably around, well, we don't, the electric vehicle stuff has moved all down to Mexico at this point for the first part. Maybe some small parts or
hmm
trials and things like that we're doing out of Chicago. But out of here, it's still probably, I'd say 30% of that traditional automotive. And then the powder side has gone down from what used to be maybe 30% to maybe 7, 8% of our total business. And then the rest of that's made up by the electrical installation side of things.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I know that a lot of shops have been booming because of the growth of electrical facilities and the need for those type of components. I mean, is that something you've been seeing, or is it?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of what we do is switch gear for substations that go into data centers, which we're
hmm
seeing a huge demand there, obviously. A lot of things go into drive systems for like Rockwell Automation, Danfoss. We do some things that go into Progress Rail and locomotive, and so we have a wide variety of stuff that we service out of the Chicago location, or a variety of industry. Um, the focus is a little more wide spanning than it is down there. Not that I'm not just married to electric vehicles down in Mexico. It just seems to be what we're seeing at the moment.
Right, right. Yeah, I was going to say, have you explored any thoughts of bringing the electroplated component up to your Chicago facility? Is that something that could ever be in the works, or since you
It's
went through the whole thing and educated yourself on it,
it's
or not?
definitely in the back of my mind.
Mhm.
We're concentrating on getting that going. Fully up, and it's fully operational, but concentrating on building the revenue side of it to support the investment down there right now. Um, Being that we do the same thing here as we do down there, it would make a natural sense right now. It would require some more investment in
Mhm.
probably some land acquisition and building up some additional square footage, which we're investigating that right now. But yeah, that remains to be a conversation with some of my customers to see, where's the interest level and what does that look like. But it's something that's on the back mind.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, I would say, and besides that, I mean, any other plans you have for your either facility? I guess, like I said, the one in Mexico is pretty. You looked like you put a lot into this one, and but in the Chicago area, anything you're because I know we just talked about electroplating, but uh, anything else that you might be looking at of down the road with that, or
From an investment or expansion, are you talking about
yeah,
different
either one,
technologies
yeah,
or?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, either
Nothing,
one, yeah.
nothing immediately right now. I think more
Okay,
opportunity would be more of the same in other locations, such as like I mentioned, Monterrey or Bajío region. There's a lot of automotive and medical down in the Bajío. There's a lot of more high tech and automotive in Monterrey. So I think those are both opportunities for expanding to do more of the same. But that's a wait and see kind of a little bit right now. It's nothing hard planned on that right
right, yeah, I was gonna say definitely. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a pretty good, a good team that can allow you to do the things that you want to do and not force you to be there looking over everybody's shoulders at all time. That seems to be the big key with a lot of success is you can find the right people to delegate the work to and then learn to delegate it, right? I mean, that's the big thing. Learn to delegate it, trust them, and make sure that they have the tools to do it. But really having good quality people. It sounds like you've worked very hard to get those people in your operation.
now. Absolutely, yeah. No, the team is everything, and with the growth that we've seen, there's no way to do it and be the CEO and not delegate and not trust your team to be effective and efficient, and they have been, allowing me to concentrate on the higher level things and the company overall. There's definitely times when you grow up in the business and you started with doing everything that you feel like, well, geez, I'm not doing enough. But the focus shifts and where your responsibilities and what your efforts need to be doing. Where's my time and my effort best spent, and where can I train and bring other people into those other roles that become more extemporaneous to my position.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you had mentioned, like I said, you grew up in your father's operation. Was it Acme? Is that what
Happy
the
finishing,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, Max Finishing it. So you grew up in this, and like I said, and then hats off to you. Forged out on your own, purchased your own company and everything. And but this has really been in your lifeblood since, I mean, probably in their teens, I'm sure, or even
Oh
earlier than
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I was fourth generation at Acme. My great
Okay.
grandfather started in the 1930s, and then um, you know on and on and on. And yeah, I started working there in high school, in the maintenance department and welding things and burning myself and making a mess of stuff. But
Right. Yeah.
that or working on the line, hanging parts and masking and all those fun things that little did I know how they were going to impact my life. That's just much later on because my
Right.
original plan wasn't to go into the business, but ended up finding myself there and enjoying it, and then obviously taking over progressive coating and growing this business has been um, really satisfying,
Right.
and sort of
Definitely.
knowing what I wanted to be able to do with the business, and then really executing it and seeing it come to fruition and building the culture and the type of business that I always envisioned. It's customer first and employee first type of an
Mhm.
operation.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. It's funny. Like I said, you've been in it for several decades now. You're young guy, but you've been in it for such a long time. What have you seen change over the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years about how the business, the customers and how businesses run and what they're asking you to do? And I know there's a lot of changes, a lot of relationships changing what they're sort of demanding on partners like yourself. How have you seen some of those changes, good or bad, of how they've
Hmm.
been able to come about for that?
Well, I think in a good respect, I mean, the industry itself has elevated itself. I think the commitment to quality, the commitment to technology and investment is broadly across the industry has increased significantly. Um, I think there's the people that are doing the work at the highest levels are continuing that investment and continuing their growth and looking to how to continue being better and better for their customers, for their suppliers, or their employees, and building better businesses. I think on the downside, it's um, I feel like the personal relationships that we had many years ago have suffered a little bit. I think that's probably true everywhere, especially since COVID happened and so much became remote, more transactional, less interpersonal, less entertainment, and those relationships of friendships that were developed are a little more unique and a little harder to come by as much these days. And I think that's an unfortunate side of where I've seen industry in general go.
Right. Yeah. And manufacturing overall, I think, not
Mm-hmm.
just in the finishing with that. Yeah. And like I said, it makes it a little tougher for someone like you as a CEO who runs to manage that aspect of it too while you're trying to run day to day. It's got to be a little bit more stressful, but like you said, you kind of just, kind of know you kind of stay calm and stay at it, right? You have principles and you work towards those. And it sounds like, you guys have done very well with that over the years.
Yeah, I think we stay true to your values and you operate your company along that. Provided you have the right values, I guess you should be successful and at least proud of what you're doing at the end of the day. Um, you know, we don't want to compromise on how we do things and who we are as a company.